You ever have one of those days where your life just takes a hard left turn because someone in white sneakers and too much authority decides you're their new life project? That was me standing in the sticky southern air, sweat running down my back while Karen Miller, president of the Whispering Pines Estates HOA, clipboard in hand, and attitude to match, announced my farm was a blight on the community. No kidding, that's how it started. She stood there like she was defending the last outpost of civilization, 2 minions in tow, telling me Major Marcus Thorne, 4 generations deep on this land, that she was petitioning to have my property condemned. Now, Karen wasn't just large, she was gravitational in every sense. She had this way of holding herself and her clipboard like a queen, surveying peasants flanked by Barb and Sheila, who nodded along like dashboard bobbleheads, the kind who would sell their own grandma for a new mailbox rule. My family's 100 acres wrestled from the wild by my great-granddad, land soaked in honest sweat and a little blood suddenly reduced to an eyesore. The farmhouse itself, heart pine and fieldstones, still standing proud after hurricanes, heartbreak, and history, now just an inconvenience in the way of her wellness center, which, let's be real, was code for a second pool and somewhere fancy to complain about gluten. But here's the thing. 25 years in the Army teaches you when to show your teeth and when to play it cool. I didn't rage. I didn't threaten. I told her real even, "You're on private property, Karen, and you don't have any authority here." She laughed, like that was the funniest thing she'd heard all week. "Oh, we have authority. The covenants are very clear." And on she went about aesthetic harmony. Meanwhile, my gut settled, not fear, not anger, just that old combat calm. The kind that hits right before things go sideways. She thought she saw some washed-up soldier who couldn't let go of a dusty old farm. She had no clue I was majority partner in the very bank that held the master loan on her cookie-cutter paradise. She'd just declared war on the man holding the keys to her kingdom. If you've ever tangled with an HOA or a Karen, you know that kind of slow-burn fury, the kind that can boil over or get channeled into something sharp. I decided right there, staring at her pasty, smug face, that I was going to dismantle her empire one bureaucratic brick at a time. But this mess, it didn't start with a condemnation letter. It started with a family legacy. See, my great-grandfather Elias got the original grant in 1878, built the house, the barn, even planted the pecan trees that still line the drive. My grandpa Samuel was born and died in the same downstairs room. I was his only grandkid, last Thorne standing. Grew up summers fixing fences, learning to spot snakes, eating my grandma's peach cobbler. But wanderlust got me. I joined the Army right out of high school, made officer, did my time in dusty places nobody back home could even pronounce. Through it all, the farm was my North Star. When Grandpa passed, I took my last leave, walked the property, and felt that weight drop on my shoulders. Time to come home. I traded fatigues for flannel, spent the first year just healing, fixing roofs, clearing brush, letting the quiet fill all the cracks left by war. Then, wouldn't you know it, developers moved in. Bought 1,000 acres next door, bulldozed the ancient pines, put up 1,000 beige boxes. Whispering Pines Estates. An insult to the trees they tore down. My land. An anomaly. Not part of the HOA, grandfathered and crystal clear on every deed. That drove them nuts. The early skirmishes were small notes about my compost, passive-aggressive complaints about the rooster crowing at dawn. I ignored it until Karen took over. Suddenly, the letters were official, citing bylaws that didn't apply. One lawyerly letter from me and things went quiet. But she watched. Oh, she watched. See, Karen wasn't satisfied with a tidy lawn. She wanted conquest. My 100 acres, her white whale. When she stood on my property waving a fake condemnation notice, I finally saw it. This was personal. Not about property values, about power. When she left, I didn't call a lawyer. First, I called Chloe, my financial advisor, a sharp-as-nails operator who ran the numbers for our investment firm. Full workup on the HOA Chloe, and find out everything about their lender, Piedmont Community Bank. Then I called David Chun, an old jag buddy turned relentless lawyer. David, it's war. He knew the type, suburban mafia, hungry for a fight. Document everything he told me. Every letter, every look, every ball that rolls onto your lawn. Get cameras, build your case. So that's what I did. Night vision cameras, voice recorders, logbooks. I collected every notice, every fine for the tractor parked by the barn, unapproved agricultural equipment for my 100-year-old fence, non-conforming for general patent, the rooster crowing noise pollution. Each paper went into a binder, every date and photo cross-referenced. If Karen thought she could bury me in bureaucracy, she didn't know I'd spent 10 years outmaneuvering military red tape. Paperwork was my ammo. While I was busy building my wall of evidence, Chloe's financial reports trickled in, and man, were they illuminating. The HOA was a mess. Beautification funds went to Karen's sister's nursery, legal fees to her brother-in-law's firm. Nepotism 101 hiding in plain sight. But the gold mine, the master loan. My firm, Thorn Capital, owned the parent company of the very bank that held the mortgage on Whispering Pines. Karen was living in a house of cards, and I was the guy holding the bottom card. David's legal prep was a thing of beauty. He spotted their angle, try to prove my farm was a public nuisance, get a friend on the county board, tie me up in hearings. Sure enough, a county inspection was scheduled, complaint filed by the Committee for Community Harmony. Yeah, right. I prepped for the inspection like a battalion review. Polished the tractor, fixed the fence, cleaned the barn, even washed the rooster. But my real work happened at night, digging through HOA records, connecting every fine to a payout to Karen's family. The more I found, the uglier it got. The day of the inspection, Karen and her cronies showed up expecting a train wreck. Instead, they found me in David's suit and briefcase greeting Mr. Henderson, the county inspector. David ran legal interference, citing code history precedent. The antique tractor non-operational, grandfathered in. The chicken coop older than the zoning regs. Every angle covered. Karen's smirk vanished by the time Henderson finished, declared my property well-maintained, and practically sprinted to his truck. Karen hissed, "This isn't over." Oh, but she was starting to realize who she was up against. That night I started my own quiet campaign. Visited neighbors who'd been fined or bullied. Arthur and Marion Peterson fined for a bird feeder. The Rodriguez family threatened with a lien over their kids' red and blue playset. Everywhere the same story: intimidation, selective enforcement, all for Karen's vanity project. But people were tired. They were angry. And they were ready for someone to stand up. The failed inspection made Karen desperate. Her newsletter started hinting at outside threats and blight. She thought she could unite the community against me, but she only managed to unite them against her. I shared Chloe's financial dirt with David: racketeering, embezzlement, the works. We could take it to the DA, but I wanted something cleaner, faster. I laid out my trump card, the bank. David's jaw dropped. "You own the bank?" "For all practical purposes," I said. Our plan was simple. Wait for Karen's big community meeting where she'd unveil her vision for my land. When she presented her plans, I called her out in front of a packed house on the real numbers, low reserves, sky-high legal fees, money missing in action. Others joined in demanding answers. The room turned on her. For the first time, Karen lost control. Her meeting, her coronation, became her undoing. The next day, we filed a lawsuit: harassment, breach of duty, fraud. We demanded an audit, damages, the works. Karen's world crumbled. She begged the community for more money, special assessment, she called it, to fund her legal war. It was the final straw. Then on the night of the board election, we sprung the trap. The bank's VP strode in, handed Karen a formal letter. The loan was under review thanks to her legal and financial recklessness. If she didn't fix things, the bank could call in the loan, bankrupting the HOA. The room exploded. Karen, queen of the neighborhood, dethroned in one night. Arthur Peterson and his slate swept the board. Karen, white as a ghost, scurried out the back door. The new board moved fast. Hired auditors, turned the findings over to the DA. Karen, her sister, her brother-in-law, all indicted. The Thorn Amendment passed, cementing my property's independence forever. The HOA restructured their loan, saved money, found peace. I threw a barbecue, invited everyone. Folks came, ate, laughed, tore down a section of the old stone wall to build a gate. We became a real community, not just a collection of houses. Late that night, after the kids had chased my chickens and neighbors had swapped stories, the Rodriguez boy handed me a crayon drawing the farm, the houses, everyone holding hands. "You gave us our neighborhood back," his dad said. That hit me hard. I came home hoping for quiet, found a fight, and wound up helping a whole community stand up for themselves. Here's the truth I learned. The real blight isn't old wood or wild grass. It's what happens when power gets twisted, when rules matter more than people. Community isn't built by committees and covenants, but by folks looking out for one another. When we remember that we get more than a place to live, we get home. So let me ask you, where's the line between order and overreach? When does community become control? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me your stories. Let's hear about your own HOA battles, or when you took a stand for what's right. Who knows? Maybe the next time someone like Karen comes swinging, you'll be ready too.